There is a place inside you that has always known how to recognize the light. Not the loud kind. Not the kind that announces itself, the quiet kind. The kind that slips through a crack in the curtain before morning arrives. The kind that finds you even when you have stopped looking for it. You know that place. You have always known it. But somewhere along the way, the noise got louder, and that place got harder to find. This moment is not as ordinary as it appears. You may have stopped here because something gentle pulled on you. You may have thought it was habit, or curiosity, or simply the quiet of the evening settling around you. But nothing that brings your heart closer to this voice is meaningless. Nothing. I have been drawing you here, not with force, not with fear, with an invitation so tender you almost mistook it for your own idea. So before you move into another thought, before the day pulls you back into its current, pause here with me. You have been carrying something for a long time. By the time this ends, you are going to set it down. Think for a moment about the version of you that lives in fear, the one who checks the same worry twice before bed, who wakes at 3 in the morning and lies there in the dark, running the same loop, the same names, the same unanswered questions, who has learned, over decades, to smile at the right moments and carry the rest alone, who shows up, who keeps going, who does what is asked. That version of you has been working very hard for a very long time. Now picture a different version, not a younger version, not a version without scars or loss, or the particular weight that comes from living long enough to have buried people you loved. A version that walks in peace, not because life got easier, not because the questions finally got answered, but because something settled deep down that the noise outside could no longer reach. That version of you is not a stranger. It is not reserved for other people, people with fewer regrets, people who made better choices along the way. It is where we are going. Over the next hour, you are going to hear 3 things. First, why the voice you have been missing was never actually gone. Second, what the fire and the flood in your life were actually doing, even when it felt like pure destruction. And third, the one thing that changes when a person finally stops running from the stillness. Stay with me, because the last piece is the one that connects everything. And it is not what you are expecting. You have lived surrounded by voices. Voices telling you to hurry, voices measuring your life by what is still unfinished, what you have not yet fixed, what you should have done differently 20 years ago. Voices that know exactly which memory to surface at 2 in the morning when you are too tired to fight back. You carried those sounds for so long that your own heart began to struggle to hear anything else. But beneath all of that, beneath the noise and the worry and the long list of things that did not go the way you planned, there is a voice that remains, not fragile, not fading, not swallowed by everything that happened. Think of a deep river moving beneath a restless city. The city is loud, traffic and sirens, and the constant hum of 10,000 lives running at full speed. But beneath the street, beneath the concrete and the pipes and the decades of built-up layers, the river keeps moving. It was there before the city. It will be there long after. That is this voice. It has been moving beneath everything. It was there before your questions became words. It was there before your tears knew where to fall. It was there before you understood that what you were searching for was not relief. You were searching for something more. Something that did not have a name, but that you recognized the moment you felt its absence. That hollow place that success could not fill, and busyness could not cover, and even good things, good relationships, good years, somehow left untouched. That is not a flaw in you. That is the shape of where you were made to be known. You were not created to live empty, rushed, afraid, disconnected from the one who formed you. You were created for something older and quieter and more real than anything the noise has been offering. And here is what the noise does not want you to know. The stillness you have been avoiding is not empty. It just feels that way when you first step into it. There was a boy named Eli. He was young, 12 years old, maybe younger. He slept in the temple, in the place where the lamp burned through the night, where the sacred things were kept. It was his job to be there. It was where he belonged. And one night, in the deep quiet, he heard his name, not loud, not with thunder or fire, or the kind of announcement you cannot ignore. Just his name, clear and close, the way a voice sounds when someone is in the same room. Eli got up and ran to his teacher, an old man nearly blind, who had spent his whole life in that same place. The boy stood before him, certain someone had called him. The old man looked at him and said, "I did not call you. Go back and lie down." Eli went back, and the voice came again. He got up again, went back to the old man again. The old man said again, "I did not call you," a third time. The same voice, the same name, the same certainty that someone was there. The old man this time understood, and he gave the boy the only instruction that mattered. Go back. And if you hear it again, say this, "Speak, I am listening." 3 simple words, not a speech, not a prepared prayer, not a demonstration of knowledge or worthiness or spiritual achievement, just an open door, just a heart turned in the right direction. The boy went back, lay down, and the voice came again. And this time, instead of running to find a human answer, he stayed still, and he said the words, and his whole life opened from that moment. Here is what no one tells you about Eli's story. He was not punished for running to the wrong place 3 times. He was not lectured about his confusion. He was not told that he had missed his chance or delayed too long or failed some kind of test. He was simply taught, patiently, by someone who understood, finally, what was actually happening. There are moments in your life that looked like confusion, moments when you heard something, felt something, a pull towards stillness, an ache you could not explain, a sense that there was more, and you ran toward the nearest human answer, toward another person, toward a plan, toward activity, toward noise, toward anything that felt more concrete than the quiet voice you were not sure you had really heard. You were not failing, you were learning. A listening heart grows through repeated calls. Each time Eli rose, each time he returned, he was being brought closer to recognition. The same has been true of you. Every time you turned back towards something deeper, every time the noise of the day fell away and you sat with questions you could not answer, every time you felt the pull and did not entirely understand it, but did not entirely ignore it either. You were being taught. You were not called by accident, not to this moment, not to this life, not to the specific collection of experiences and losses and survivals that made you exactly who you are right now. That is not a phrase to move past quickly. Let it rest. Your existence is not random. Your hunger for peace is not a quirk or a weakness, or something you should have outgrown by now. It is evidence that something in you still recognizes home. The voice you have been missing did not stop. It simply waited, with a patience that has no expiration date, with a steadiness that does not require you to have done everything right in the meantime. You do not come here as a stranger. You come as one who was always known. Before the world placed its names on you, there was already a name spoken over you. Before your losses defined your story, before the years that did not go the way you hoped, before the diagnoses and the distances that grew between you and people you loved, before the long stretch of ordinary days that left you wondering whether any of it had added up to something that mattered. Before all of it, there was already a name, already a purpose, already a love that did not depend on any of what came after. The world has called you many things. Some of those names came through wounds. Some came through comparison, through failure, through the voices of people who did not understand the weight of what they were saying. Some of those names you eventually started repeating to yourself in the dark, in the quiet, in the 3 o'clock mornings when the loop started again. Too late, too old, too tired. Too much has happened, too much has been lost. But not one of those names has the authority to cancel what has already been spoken over you. When you are called by this voice, you are called by the name that existed before fear got there first. You are called beloved. You are called mine. You are called into something that does not expire. There is an old story about a man, a general, powerful and celebrated, who carried one wound that his rank and his victories could not touch. He had everything the world considers proof of a life well built. Armies answered to him, kings respected him. His name meant something everywhere he went, and still, there was something he carried that none of it could fix. He sought healing. He traveled far. He came with the full weight of his reputation and his need, and what he received was not what he expected. He was told to go and wash in an ordinary river, not a sacred place, not a grand ceremony, not something proportional to the size of his suffering or the significance of his name. An ordinary river. He was furious. He had imagined something else, something worthy of what he had endured, and he turned to leave. But one of his servants spoke quietly. If you had been asked to do something great, you would have done it. Why not do this simple thing? He stopped. He turned back. He went down to the river, and on the 7th time the wound that nothing else had touched was healed. His skin became like the skin of a child. The miracle was not in the river. The miracle was in the moment he chose to stop deciding what healing should look like. You have been waiting for something proportional, something dramatic enough to justify what you have been through, a sign large enough that no doubt could remain, an answer that would make the years of silence make sense all at once. And the door has been ordinary all along, a pause in the day, a moment of stillness you almost filled with something else. A quiet pull that felt too small to trust. Do not despise the ordinary door. So here is where we are before we go further. The voice beneath the noise was never gone. Eli learned to answer after 3 tries, and nobody punished him for taking that long. The general found his healing in a river he almost refused to enter. And the name that fear gave you is not the name that was spoken first. But now we need to talk about the seasons that did not feel like preparation. The ones that felt like something was being taken. The ones you would not have chosen and would not wish on anyone. Because what was actually happening in those seasons, beneath the surface of all that loss, is not what you were told. And it is not what you are expecting. There are seasons that do not feel like preparation. They feel like punishment. They feel like the sky closed and the ground shifted, and everything you had carefully built over decades started to show its cracks. Not the small cracks, the deep ones. The ones you plastered over and painted and hoped no one would notice, including yourself. You know what those seasons feel like. Maybe you are in one right now, or maybe you are on the other side of one, still carrying the weight of it. Still trying to understand what it meant, still wondering whether what you lost in that season was supposed to come back, or whether it is simply gone. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Not what people see when they look at you, not the version you present at the table, at church, at family gatherings where everyone needs you to be okay. What have you actually been carrying? The thing you pick up every morning before anyone else wakes up, the worry that does not have a clean answer. The grief that did not come with a timeline. The question that lives just below the surface of every ordinary Tuesday. You do not have to say it out loud, but let it be present here, because what I am about to tell you is for that exact thing, not the polished version of your struggle. The real one. The fire that comes into a life is not sent by an enemy. I know that is not what it felt like. I know that in the middle of the burning, the last thing you wanted was a metaphor about gold. When something is being taken from you, when the relationships fracture or the health fails or the future you planned quietly closes its doors, the thought that this is somehow good does not land the way it is meant to. So I am not going to ask you to feel grateful for the fire. Not yet. I am going to ask you to consider one thing. A goldsmith does not place gold in fire because he hates it. He places it there because he knows what is inside it. He knows that what looks like pure gold to the untrained eye still carries impurities, still carries things that will weaken it under pressure, make it brittle, prevent it from becoming what it was always capable of being. He watches the fire carefully. He does not walk away. He does not leave it one moment longer than necessary. And he knows when it is finished because he can see his own reflection in the surface. Clear, undistorted, true. You are the gold. Not the finished version. The version that has been in the fire, the version that came out on the other side and still does not fully understand what happened, but is still here, still warm, still holding something that could not be burned away. The fire in your life was not sent to destroy you. It was sent to remove what was covering the real you. The pride that looked like confidence, the control that looked like responsibility, the fear that spent years disguising itself as wisdom, the need for approval that you built your daily choices around without ever quite naming it. You cannot release what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot surrender a burden you keep pretending is not heavy. The fire does not ask your permission to do this work. It simply reveals. And what it reveals, it hands over to the one who heals. There are things the comfortable seasons hide when life is running smoothly. Certain patterns stay invisible. You can carry a quiet resentment for years inside a functioning life and never be forced to look at it directly. You can maintain a version of faith that stays just theological enough to avoid the vulnerable places. You can be busy enough, useful enough, needed enough, that the hollow center never has to speak above a whisper. And then something shifts and the hollow center gets loud. That is not collapse. That is honesty arriving. The fire does not create the disorder. It reveals it, so that healing can finally begin in the right place. There were two men in a prison, not a metaphor, a real prison. Stone walls, iron chains, the kind of darkness that is not romantic or atmospheric but simply heavy. The kind that presses on the chest. They had been beaten before they were locked away. Their bodies were marked by it, and they were placed in the innermost cell, which means someone wanted to make certain there was no accidental exit. This was intentional. This was meant to be the end of something. It was midnight, not the hopeful part of the night when you can still tell yourself the morning is coming soon. The deepest part, the part where midnight feels permanent. And in that darkness, in that silence, in that specific and terrible place, these two men began to sing. Not quietly either. Loudly enough that the other prisoners could hear them. There is no logical explanation for that decision. There is no framework that arrives at singing in chains at midnight as the correct response to injustice and suffering, and everything being wrong. It makes no rational sense. But they were not operating from logic. They were operating from something that went deeper than circumstance. They were not pretending the chains were not real. They were not performing peace for an audience. They were declaring, in the most visceral and physical way possible, that the chains did not have the final word. And the ground shook. The foundations of that prison trembled. Every door flew open. Every chain came loose. Not just theirs. Every prisoner in that building felt the iron fall away. Here is what I want you to hold on to. The shaking was not the catastrophe. The shaking was the deliverance making sound. Some chains do not fall quietly. Some prison doors do not open without the whole building trembling first. And if you have been in a season of shaking, if the ground under your familiar life has felt unstable, if things you counted on have shifted in ways you did not ask for and could not control, I want you to consider the possibility that what you experienced as threat was actually freedom arriving. Not the shaking that destroys, the shaking that opens, because here is what chains do over time. They become familiar. You stop noticing them. You start moving within their radius without thinking about it. You stop trying the door because you already know it is locked. You organize your life around the limits they impose, and you call that wisdom. You call it being realistic. You call it knowing better than to hope for something different. And then the ground moves, and the chains fall. And the door swings open, and standing there in the sudden open space, you do not know what to do, because familiar was predictable, and freedom is terrifying until you learn to live inside it. You have been living with certain chains for so long that you stopped calling them chains. You called them your personality, your history, your limitations, the way you are. The anxiety that wakes you in the night is not who you are. The need for approval that quietly runs most of your decisions is not who you are. The shame that sits in the back of every room and waits for a moment to speak is not who you are. The belief that the good years are behind you and whatever peace you missed earlier is now simply unavailable, that is not the truth. Those are chains, and chains can fall. But there is something that comes after the fire, and after the chains fall, and after the midnight passes. Something that looks, at first, like nothing at all. There is a story about a man who was brought to a valley, not a green valley, not the kind with rivers running through it and light coming through the trees at a particular angle that makes you believe everything is going to be all right. This valley had nothing growing in it. It had not had anything growing in it for a very long time. What it had was bones, dry bones, scattered across the ground as far as the eye could see. Not a range, not resting, scattered, the way things end up when they have been abandoned. When the life that once held them together is simply gone. The man standing at the edge of that valley was asked one question: can these bones live? He did not answer with confidence. He did not answer with a theological position or a statement of faith, or anything that would have sounded impressive. He looked at that valley, at the reality of what was in front of him, and he gave the only honest answer available. Only you know, that is not a weak answer. That is the exact right answer. It is the answer of a person who has stopped pretending to know more than they do, who has brought their honest assessment of an impossible situation and placed it in hands larger than their own. And that honesty was enough. He was told to speak into the valley, to say out loud to the dry bones that they would live. He spoke. There was sound first, a rattling like things finding their way back to where they belonged. The bones began to move toward each other, not all at once, not in a flash of light, slowly, with effort. With the particular sound of things being reconnected after a long separation, bone found bone structure returned. Form came back to what had been formless and scattered. And still there was no life, just the shape of it, just the structure waiting for something more. Then breath came, and they stood. Here is what that valley is. It is the part of you that you gave up on. Not dramatically, not all at once, gradually, the way hope leaves quietly when it has been disappointed enough times. The way faith goes quiet when the prayers you prayed the hardest did not produce the outcomes you needed. The way joy stops visiting when grief moves in and takes up more space than you expected. You did not stop believing on purpose. You just got tired. And tired, sustained over years, can look a lot like over. But scattered is not over. Silent is not over. Dry is not the same as dead. The bones in that valley were not beyond reach. They were waiting for someone to speak into the silence instead of just standing at the edge of it. Your tears are part of this. I know there are decades of messaging that told you tears were weakness, that the strong thing was to move on, to keep going, to not let it show. And you learned that lesson well, because you are still here, still functioning, still showing up for the people who need you. But the ground does not receive seed when it is hard. Rain must fall first. The surface must soften. What became sealed by survival must become open again before new things can take root. Your tears are not the sign that faith left you. They are the sign that the ground is finally soft enough to receive something. The places in you that closed because they were hurt too many times. The hope that went quiet because it was tired of being wrong. The tenderness you tucked away because the world rewarded toughness and punished openness. Those places are not gone. They are waiting. And the tears that rise when you least expect them, during a song, during a quiet moment, during something as ordinary as sitting in the car after everyone else has gone inside. Those tears are the ground softening. Let them. You do not have to perform strength here. There is no audience for this except the one who already knows every single thing you have been holding together by yourself. He is not standing at a distance watching to see how you handle it. He is not keeping score of the moments you barely made it through. He is near to the honest heart. He is close to the one who stops pretending, which means he is here right now in this valley. In this moment of stillness, in the space between what you have been carrying and what you are beginning to set down. The parts of you that feel scattered are not beyond reach. The faith that went quiet is not beyond reach. The joy that stopped returning calls is not beyond reach. The hope that learned to stay small so it would not have to survive another disappointment is not beyond reach. They are waiting for someone to speak into them instead of standing at the edge and calling it too late. So here is where we are. The fire was real, but it came to remove what was covering the truest version of you, not to destroy her. The chains were real, but the shaking you felt when they fell was not catastrophe. It was freedom making sound. The valley is real, but dry bones can be reconnected. Scattered things can find their way back, and breath can enter places that forgot how to receive it. None of this is finished. None of this is over. And what is waiting on the other side of all of it is the piece that changes everything. The one nobody told you about at the beginning because you would not have believed it until you had been through the rest. That is where we are going next. You made it to this part. Not everyone does. Some people stop at the edge of the valley. They look at what is scattered and dry and silent, and decide the evidence is conclusive. They close the door quietly and walk back to whatever familiar thing offers the least amount of pain. Not because they are weak, because they are tired, and tired after a long time starts to feel permanent. But you are still here. That matters more than you know. Your being here is the same thing Eli did when the voice came a third time. The same thing the general did when he stood at the edge of that ordinary river, and something in him chose to go down instead of turning back. You did not stop, and that choice, quiet as it was, is the thing that everything else gets built on. Now comes the part that changes everything. The world offers peace by removing pressure, by resolving the situation, by giving you the diagnosis you hoped for. The phone call from the person who hurt you, the moment when the financial weight finally lifts and you can breathe again. That kind of peace is real. It is welcome. There is nothing wrong with wanting it. But it depends on circumstances staying cooperative. And circumstances, as you have learned across 60+ years of living, are not reliable partners. The peace that cannot be shaken does not begin outside you. It begins in presence, not the feeling of presence, the fact of it. There is a difference between feeling peace and having a foundation that holds when you do not feel it. Feeling comes and goes with weather and sleep, and the accumulation of small disappointments that Tuesday brings. Foundation stays. Foundation is what you are standing on when the feeling disappears and you discover you have not fallen. Think of a house built on bedrock. You cannot see the bedrock. You do not think about it when the day is ordinary and the sun is doing what it should. But when the storms come, and they always come, the bedrock is not surprised. It does not shift to accommodate the pressure. It simply holds. That is what is being built inside you. Not a feeling, a foundation. Foundations take longer than feelings. They require excavation. They require the removal of things built on wrong ground. They require the kind of work that does not look like progress from the outside, because all the significant labor is happening below the surface, in the hidden places, where nothing about it is impressive until the storm arrives and the house is still standing. You may have been asking why the process has taken so long, why the healing did not come faster, why the peace you prayed for kept arriving in fragments instead of all at once. This is why. The foundation has to go deep enough to hold what is coming. Not the comfortable seasons. Those do not test anything. What is coming, what you are being prepared to carry, requires bedrock that goes all the way down, and you are closer to it than you think. Now I need to tell you something that most people are not told until it is too late to fully receive it. You were not healed only for yourself. Take a moment with that. The instinct when we have survived something difficult is to want to rest, to want the healing to be the destination, to arrive at the quiet place and stay there, undisturbed for whatever time remains. That is not wrong. You have earned the rest. You have paid the kind of price that comes from decades of showing up and holding things together and loving people through their own valleys, whether or not they ever understood what it cost you. But peace that stays locked inside one person eventually grows thin. It needs somewhere to go. It is not a static possession. It is a living thing, and living things need to move. Think about who is in your life right now, not the big relationships. Start smaller. The grandchild who does not say much but watches everything. Who is learning from you what it looks like to carry difficulty without becoming hard. Who is taking notes you do not know you are giving. Who will remember not the words you said but the way you were in the room. Whether you were anxious or anchored, whether peace was something you performed or something you actually carried. The neighbor who waves from the driveway and says she is fine and means neither word of it. Who has not told anyone that the nights are longer than they used to be and the house is quieter than she knows how to hold. Who does not need a program or a sermon. Who needs someone to sit across from her at a kitchen table and say, without flinching, I have been in that place. I know what that silence sounds like, and I am still here. The person at church who sits 2 rows over and has the right words for every question and the specific exhausted look of someone holding themselves together with willpower alone. Who needs not your theology but your testimony. Not what you know but what you survived. These people do not need someone who has never been in the valley. They need someone who has been there and came back with something real to say about it. That is you, not the perfect version, not the version with all the answers and a faith that never flickered. The version that went through the fire and did not come out unaffected but did come out. The version that stood in the valley and said, only you know, and meant it. The version that heard the voice beneath all the noise, and after everything, chose to keep listening. That version of you is not disqualified by what you have been through. In the hands of the one who called you, it is prepared by it. This is what commissioning looks like. Not a stage, not an announcement, not a role that requires you to become someone different than you are. It looks like a conversation on a Tuesday afternoon that you did not plan, and that someone else will carry for the rest of their life. It looks like a letter you almost did not write. It looks like staying in the room when every instinct said leave, and offering the specific comfort that only comes from someone who has been in that room before. It looks like you, exactly as you are, with exactly what you have been through, doing what you have always done, but now from a different place. Not from depletion, not from duty, from something that is actually full. You cannot pour from an empty place and sustain it. You know this. You have tried. You have given from exhaustion and called it love and run dry in ways that took years to recover from. But when you pour from the filled place, from the place where peace has taken root as foundation rather than feeling, something different happens. You give and you are not diminished. You serve and you are not emptied. You sit with someone in their darkness and you are not consumed by it because you are not running on your own supply. You are connected to something that does not run out. This is the difference between giving from fear and giving from peace. Fear says, if I do not show up, something will fall apart. If I do not hold this together, no one will. If I stop, everything stops. Peace says, I am here because I was sent. I am available because I have been filled. I can offer this because it was given to me first. And when this particular moment ends, I am not diminished. I am part of something that keeps moving. That is not exhaustion. That is abundance. And it is available to you. Not when you become someone else. Not when you have resolved every remaining question now, from this place, with this life, with everything that has happened in it. But there is something that must be protected, because peace is real. It can be disturbed, and the work of protecting it is the work of learning to recognize the voices that pull against it. Picture a quiet morning. You are sitting with your coffee before the day begins, and in that stillness, before you have done anything wrong, before the day has even asked anything of you yet, a voice starts. It speaks in your own accent. It knows your history. It sounds at first like honesty. It says the damage from certain seasons is permanent, that the people who should have known better never will, that the time for certain kinds of restoration has passed, that you are too old to be starting over in any sense that matters, that the window closed while you were dealing with everything else, and now it is simply too late. That voice is not telling you the truth. There is another voice that shows up in the middle of conversations, in the pause before you speak, in the moment someone looks to you for something. It questions whether you are enough, whether your needs are too large and your presence too complicated, and whether the people who love you would find it easier if you asked for less. That voice is not telling you the truth either. And there is a third voice that speaks in urgency, that pushes you toward decisions without peace, toward reactions without reflection, toward giving yourself away again before you have had time to receive anything. It tells you rest is laziness and stillness is avoidance. And if you are not visibly producing something, then nothing real is happening. That voice has cost you more than you have fully accounted for. None of them deserve the authority they have been given. The work of protecting your peace is learning to recognize them for what they are and choosing, deliberately not to obey. Watch what you allow near your heart, not with fear, but with wisdom. Not everything that calls for your attention deserves it. Not every voice that sounds urgent is carrying something true. Not every open door was meant for you to walk through. Come back to stillness often, not just in crisis, in the morning, in the small gaps, in the moments when nothing is pressing, and you could fill the space with noise, or you could let it be what it actually is. An invitation, the same invitation that has been extended since before you understood what you were being invited toward. Stillness is where the voice is clearest. It is where the foundation is reinforced. It is where the scattered things continue to reconnect, and the dry places continue to receive breath, and the healing that started in the fire continues its quiet work. You are not done being formed. That is not a discouraging thing. It is one of the most generous things I know. Being done means the last chapter has been written and all that remains is waiting. You are not done. The voice that called you has not finished what it began. Which means tomorrow has something in it that today cannot fully predict. Which means the valley you survived was not the conclusion of your story. It was a chapter, and the page is still turning. There is a candle I want you to hold in your mind. Not a dramatic one. Not tall and formal. A small one. The kind that has been burning for a long time. Long enough that the wax is low, and the flame has thinned to something that flickers with any movement of air. The kind where you look at it and think it cannot possibly last much longer. That candle has been in you this whole time through the fire. It did not go out. Through the valley, it did not go out. Through the long seasons of noise and the 3 o'clock mornings, and the years that cost more than you planned, and the losses you are still learning to carry. It did not go out. Not because you kept it burning by willpower. You were not always strong enough for that. Some nights you were barely keeping yourself together, let alone keeping anything lit. It stayed burning because it was not yours to extinguish. It was placed in you before you knew you carried it, and the one who placed it there has been tending it through every season you thought it could not possibly survive. That flame is not dying, it is being sheltered, and sheltered flames, when they are brought back into the open, do not produce a flicker. They produce light. Now I want to pray with you, not a formal prayer. Not the kind that requires you to be composed or eloquent or in the right posture. The kind that is simply honest. The kind that requires nothing except that you mean it. Say it with me if you can. Say it in your own words if mine do not fit. Say it in the silence of your own heart if that is where you are. Father, I am here. That is all I know how to say right now. I am here. I bring you the noise I have been carrying, the fear I have not told anyone about, the places inside me that feel scattered and dry and further from peace than I know how to say. I bring you the seasons I did not understand, the fire I walked through without knowing it was refining and not destroying, the chains that fell in ways that terrified me before I understood that the shaking was freedom arriving. I bring you the valley, the parts of me I gave up on, the hope that went quiet, the faith that got tired, the joy that stopped visiting. I bring them here and I say the only honest thing I know. Only you know if these can live. Only you know what is still possible in me. But I am here, and I am listening. Teach me to hear your voice beneath the noise, not the loud signs that silence every doubt, but the quiet river that was moving all along beneath the city of my life. Teach me to recognize you in the stillness, in the small doors that do not look proportional to what I have been through, in the ordinary river that holds the miracle I almost refused. Restore what has been shaken. Reconnect what pain pulled apart. Breathe into the dry places, not because I have earned it, because you began this work, and what you begin you finish. Build your foundation in me, the kind that holds when the wind rises, the kind that makes me useful to the grandchild who is watching, to the neighbor who needs someone who has been in the valley, to the person 2 rows over who needs not my perfection but my testimony. I surrender the need to understand everything before I trust you. I surrender the voices that gave me names I was never meant to carry. I surrender the urgency that kept pulling me away from the stillness where I could have heard you sooner. Use what you have built in me, not for my sake alone. For theirs, amen. Take a breath. Whatever you are feeling right now, let it be real. You do not have to do anything with it immediately. You do not have to explain it or organize it or make it useful before you have finished sitting with it. Just let it be here. You came here carrying something. You do not have to leave the same way. The candle in you is not out. It was never out. And the one who has been tending it through every season you thought it could not survive is the same one who has been speaking to you through all of this. The voice beneath the noise. The river beneath the city. The flame that did not go out even on the nights you had nothing left. That voice is still speaking. It was speaking before you found this. It will be speaking long after this moment passes. Your only work is to keep returning to it. When the noise gets loud again, return. When the 3 o'clock worry starts its loop, return. When the morning voice begins its familiar accusations, return. When the valley looks too vast and the bones look too dry and the door looks too ordinary to hold what you need, return. Say the 3 words Eli learned after 3 tries. Speak, I am listening, that is enough. It was always enough. Not because your life has been ordinary. It has not been. It has been exactly the kind of life that produces exactly the kind of person the world quietly, desperately needs. Someone who went through the fire and came out. Someone who heard the chains fall. Someone who stood at the edge of the valley and told the truth instead of the impressive answer. Someone who chose to keep listening even when the voice was quiet and the night was long, and it would have been entirely understandable to stop. That someone is you. Go forward in that. Not in panic, not in the urgency that mistakes speed for significance. In the steady, unhurried pace of someone who knows where their foundation is and trusts the one who laid it. Carry the peace that has been built here into the ordinary Tuesday that comes next, into the kitchen where the grandchild is watching, into the driveway where the neighbor is pretending to be fine, into the pew 2 rows over where someone needs not your theology but your survival. And when the moment comes, and it will come, when someone looks at you and you recognize in their eyes exactly the valley you have been in, you will know what to say. Not because you have all the answers, because you came back, and that is the whole point. If this stayed with you today, there is someone in your life right now who needs to hear it, not the channel. The story itself, send it to them, because a word of peace, passed from one honest heart to another, is exactly how this kind of light travels.